for those of us that are here, welcome. For those of us that aren't and are going to be watching on replay, a belated welcome. So this evening, slightly unusual one in that I'm going to click off the full camera and I'm going to go to slideshow, because the only way I can whiz through this as efficiently as possible without just throwing stuff at you is to put it up on a slide deck, which I will then allow you to upload from the show notes in Weekly Webinar Wonderland. So don't bother, don't worry about trying to capture everything that I put either on a screenshot or in writing, because it is going to be available as a slide deck, as a PDF to look at your leisure. So let me crack in with how to build the machine. Before I do, I should probably give a little bit of context within the mindset messaging machine element here. The machine is basically how we give ourselves the maximum opportunity to use our interpersonal and our recruitment skills. So let's get into the actual nuts and bolts, as it were. We move into slide view and off we go. Okay, so recruitment machine. It's basically, the objective is to build an automated system that gives you the flow of appropriate and primed, as in they know what they're going to be talking to you about, candidates and prospects into your ecosystem, into your recruitment world, so that you have more time to focus on those things that have to be done in person, the things that really drive value. Because whilst AI is advancing and whilst online systems are proceeding apace, the things that are coming through the system, things that are coming through the pipeline with software as a service offerings is pretty remarkable, and it's coming on at a hell of a rate. But there are certain things that, unless I'm massively deceived about the next 5 to 10 years, and I don't think I am, there are certain things that people will have to do with people. Our ability to build rapport, our ability to respond, to read signals, to message one-to-one is, for the foreseeable future, going to be a human enterprise. Having said that, just within the last 18 months, the amount of things that we can now effectively automate that until recently didn't work as well when we automated them, it's astonishing. So what we're trying to do here is to build a system based around automations, preparation, and systems that allows us to get the maximum output from the minimum personal time input. So recruitment is made up of a sequence of predictable actions. It's a repetitive process. We have to find the candidate, we have to win a job order, we have to market the candidate, we have to prep them, we have to let the interview happen, we have to debrief them. All of the sequences, if you look inside the Influence Academy, you will find a sample of a recruitment process. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was built around the 31 steps of recruitment and all that sort of good stuff. Valid, but slightly outdated and slightly blown away by applicant management tracking and all that sort of stuff. But whichever system you're using, whatever piece of software you're using, whatever CRM or ATS that you're using, it's a repetitive, iterative process. Most things that we do repeatedly in sequence. And most of them don't require a lot of interpersonal skills or an awful lot of ability to understand behavior and respond to it. But those steps that do require interpersonal skills, psychological understanding, they really require it. Problem is that most recruiters are so busy the number of recruiters I hear who kind of humble brag about the fact that they're working 60, 70, 80-hour days, 80-hour weeks, because they're so busy with all of their social work and their LinkedIn business and their connections and their processes and stuff, most of which don't really move the needle. What really moves the needle, what really adds value, is one person talking to another person. It's getting inside the candidate's head to really understand their motivations and how we convince them that they've found the right opportunity. It's doing exactly the same with a client, finding out what really drives them, what problems they're really trying to solve, as opposed to the corporate line that they spout all day. That's the kind of thing that most recruiters don't allow themselves, they don't generate the time it takes to do that well and thoroughly. So candidate prep and debrief is rushed if it happens at all. It's all very superficial. It's not really probing. It's not getting the real juice and the real nuts and bolts out of the opportunity. So what the system is about, what the machine is about, is giving you the chance to do the important stuff that only you can do. So, part 2. If it happens more than once, have a system or an SOP, standard operating procedure, for it. If it's important, have a system for it. That's fairly straightforward, I think. Most people would understand that and probably agree with it, but very rarely do it. Common sense is really common practice, as they say. If a system can be de-skilled without losing any effectiveness, de-skill it. Most people will understand that, if there's a simple admin task, give it to somebody who can do an admin task for less cost with less effort on your part. If it can be delegated, delegate it. If it can be outsourced, outsource it. If it doesn't need to be done, stop it. Delegate, outsource, stop. DOS. If a system can be automated, automate it. But here's the critical factor. Keep measuring the results from your de-skilling and your automations and keep fine-tuning them until they're optimized. And optimized in this case means delivering better results than you were. So let me give you an example. I'm going to start talking about the sort of most simple example of a recruitment machine. I'll walk you through the one that I've built for my business, my recruitment business, not for the academy, but my recruitment business. And it's built around LinkedIn as a sort of starting point. Until about 6 months ago, I was really quite anti automating the LinkedIn connections piece because I'd tried it in the past, and whilst I was doing it on my own, I would get about 40%, slightly more than 40% request to connection ratio. So I'd send out 100 connection requests. I'd get about 40, 45 people saying yes. That was great. But when I automated it, I don't know why, but the response rate pretty much halved. And then when it got to me sending out a message saying thanks for connecting, and I sent out a lead magnet or something, the response rate when I automated that using the old systems that I used to use, the old software, was again about half, sometimes only a third of what I get if I did it manually. I was sending out the same message in the same timescales. Something was going on. I didn't know what. So I kept testing it and I kept trying stuff, and people would recommend software and I'd try it and it worked and it didn't work. But I kept at it until I've now got a system and a bit of software, which I'll explain in a second, that does drive genuinely better results than I was getting on my own. The numbers completely speak for themselves. So I'm getting better results now by spending no time and effort than I was by spending about 3 hours a day yes, a day, 15 hours a week on LinkedIn. So completely automated is now giving me better results than spending a huge amount of time on it. So let's get into the step by step. Having talked about the philosophy of it, step by step, step one, and this is where most people, not you, obviously, but most people fall at the first hurdle because they are not specific enough and they're not tight enough. They're too afraid of, oh yeah, but I'll miss out on these opportunities, or if it's too small, I won't be able to make enough money. My general philosophy of niching is, if you're not afraid that your niche is too small, it's probably too big. I was having a conversation with some members of the academy earlier this week, and I was pointing out that when we're recruiting from the UK or Europe, it's quite common to say, oh yeah, I'm doing this kind of role in this industry in North America. North America. You wouldn't say the whole of the Far East. Well, I hope you wouldn't. You wouldn't say Europe and the Middle East. You'd be smaller than that, but people say North America as though it's a market. Whereas, quite obviously, my members and friends who are in North America don't work North America. They work Colorado. They work 4 states coming down the eastern seaboard. They work Texas, because there is actually a really simple way to define the size of your niche. And there's a separate video within the academy. It's also on YouTube about how to define the size of your niche. But I'll give you the basic maths now. If you look at the combination of job title or job titles, industry, and geography, and you look at the number of candidates that generates, or equally, if you're looking at your prospect niche, the number of companies that generates. Talk to a few of your candidates, find out how often they change job. That gives you the velocity. The number of candidates divided by how often they change job gives you the number of potential annual placements. Fairly obvious when you think about it. I don't claim this was some kind of genius invention on my part. It just sort of seemed like a flipping obvious piece of maths. In my market, for example, give or take, I mean, my job titles, industry, geography, job titles, account executives and new business executives. That's it. Industry, commercial insurance brokers. Geography, mainland UK. That's it. I don't do insurance. I don't do financial services. I don't even do the whole of insurance. I do a piece of it. I don't do underwriting. I don't work with insurers. I don't do large commercial corporate brokers such as Marsh or Willis. I do commercial brokers who deal with SME to up to sort of very small corporate. That's their clients. So I've got a very small set of job titles, 2 in fact, and I've got a thin slice of a very big industry. And here's how the maths works. Give or take, there's about, if I lump everybody in there all together, there's no more than about 5,000 account executives, new business executives within commercial insurance broking. They change job about once every 5 years. So 5,000 divided by 5 gives me about 1,000 annual placements. If I manage to get 20 to 25 of that market, that's 200 to 250 placements a year at an average fee of about £15,000. I would be reasonably content on that. That's how the maths works. If you have 10,000 potential candidates and they move every 3 years, that gives you 3,300 potential placements a year. You will not make a dent in it. You can't make a dent in it. And the objective of having a niche is to become the £500 gorilla. It's to be market dominant. It's to be the person that when somebody's looking to change job, or when they are looking to find the best recruiter to help solve their problems, who are you going to call? You become Ghostbusters, as in, who are you going to call? You're the £500 gorilla. You own that niche. You are the person. You have the reputation. You have the credibility. You are the one person that everybody wants in that marketplace. And you do that by being a very large fish in a reasonably small pond. Once you've, if you're going at it that way, 5,000 candidates, every 5 years, 1,000 people a year, it's going to take me a long time to run out of potential placements because they're just going to keep churning. If I had 10,000 people a year changing jobs, there's no way I could personally be significant in that marketplace. At that kind of level, it's unlikely I could probably build a firm that will be significant in that marketplace. So the objective is to have a niche that's small enough for you to be financially successful and small enough for you to be market dominant, but big enough for you to fulfill your financial desires and dreams, your business desires and dreams. That's the purpose of the niche. So the size of niche varies a little bit depending on whether you are trying to build a firm around you or whether you are working for yourself, not necessarily working as a solopreneur, but working as a single person, working a single niche within a bigger firm. The situation sort of changes how you focus on things. But without your niche and without that being really tightly screwed down, job title, industry, geography, and without you having done the maths, you cannot get into the rest of the machine process. You will be stuck doing all the graft and all the shoulders to the wheel manually. I'll show you why in a second. Okay, here's how it starts to be relevant. Next step, optimize your LinkedIn profile, because I'm using LinkedIn as the engine within this. It's not the engine for every recruiter, but it's a solid place to start for most executive search consultants. So within your LinkedIn profile, there's smaller things, like you've got to have a professional looking banner. You've got to have your website on it, all that sort of stuff. But the fundamental point is explain clearly, short, sharp words. What do you do and for whom? So I have two profiles, one as a recruiter, one for the academy. In the academy, my LinkedIn profile says some version of, I help recruiters make more placements with better clients for better fees. Because that's what I do within the academy. As a recruiter, I help great AEs and great commercial brokers get together. That's fundamentally what I do. The wording's slightly different, but that's the basic message. Within your LinkedIn profile, you've got to have between 3 or 5 posts about your target industry. Things that are useful, relevant, interesting to your candidates and clients. So you don't need to be posting every single day on LinkedIn. In my experience, for building connections, and I mean building your profile and getting all the likes, I simply mean for LinkedIn as a connection engine, as a way of generating the ability to have a conversation with somebody. You just need to have 3 to 5 posts on your profile. Think about it for a second. You get a connection request. What's the first thing you do? You go, oh, what do they do? So your connection request comes in. It's in your message box. You go, oh, what do they do? Stephen Long, I help recruiters, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, yeah, that's relevant. Click, accept. Or you click on the connection request, you look at the profile, and you look at a couple of posts. If they haven't posted at all, you assume it's just a ghost profile and you kind of go, whatever. If they're posted, but it's all about them or it's all about what they're trying to do or their industry, like me posting about training or me in my recruitment persona talking about recruitment, they don't care about that. Why would they care about recruitment? Why would they care about training? Why would you care about training? You don't care about learning theory or any of that good stuff. You want to know, okay, does this person understand me? Do they get it? Do they know what I'm doing? Have they got any interest in common with me? Do they understand me? That's the message you're trying to send. So it's not about your business. It's definitely not job postings. Excuse me. It is in extremis. Just find somebody else's post and repost them. But that's real if you are completely and utterly stuck. But just comment on salary surveys, on news in the industry, but make it about their industry. There's some other finessing with LinkedIn that I've got within the modules on straight line recruitment, but fundamentally, that's the minimum you need to do. Step 3A is to work on the Dream 100. Dream 100, 100 is not necessarily a fixed number. It could be 50, it could be 300. It doesn't really matter. But the basic principle, and again, this is a separate section within straight line recruitment and within the academy. The basic rule is, who are those people that you would almost pay to work with? Who would you really just love to have as a candidate? Who would you love to have on your client list? What you then do is follow the 5-step marketing plan. Again, that's a separate module within the academy. I'm not going to get into it here for reasons of time. But the 5-step marketing plan, unfortunately, it doesn't automate, because you're not just clicking like on somebody's posts. You're actually reading their posts and you're commenting substantively. You're not just going, oh, I agree, or thumbs up. You are literally going, that's a really great post because, or that reminds me of, or have you thought about, or what if this? Because if you comment substantively on somebody's posts, I guarantee that they will recognize your name. Think about if you put a post out and somebody actually puts a thoughtful comment on it, not just the old thumbs up or like, oh, that's really good. But if they substantively comment, I bet you remember who they are. I bet you look, you see their name and you go, oh, okay. And when they do it again, it sticks and you're starting to build a relationship. So step 3A of following the Dream 100 also allows you to build your prospect lists. You can build it on national companies, on international companies, regional, people that are really nichey. So within my industry, for example, within my niche, there are certain very small, thin slices that are quite unique. There's very few people that will be working in that sector, but I'll make a note of them. I'll put them into the database so that if I have a candidate that's kind of relevant to that, I've got somewhere to market them into. So build your prospect list. Again, this is all about proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. The more you prepare in advance, the easier it is to just sail through the stuff that most people find difficult. Most people get a really good candidate and they go, oh, who shall I sell them to? Oh, I haven't really got a list for them. I'll have to do it all first. So that once the opportunity comes in, you really motor. You hit the ground running. You've got momentum, and you can maintain that momentum and push things on and get your actions quicker. So build all that in advance. Step 3B is where we automate. Now, I've automated LinkedIn with Dripify. There are other equivalents. Some of them work really well. Some of them are a little bit early 2000s and don't work that well. Dripify, I find, works brilliantly for me. It's the best $79 I spend each month, and it works really simply, I should say. Try that in English, Stephen. The first thing I do is run a non-Boolean search. There's no if, thens, there's no ands, plus, 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 plus. It's really account executives, commercial insurance brokers, United Kingdom, or it's purchasing managers, logistics, Kentucky, or whatever it might be. That's why I said that niche matters. If you are working, somebody who might be interested in the private equity industry, well, you've got to be very specific, because when I do one of my searches for prospects or for candidates, I have two separate campaigns going at any given time. Excuse me. I have two separate campaigns going at any given time. One for prospect companies, which is Managing Director, CEO, Commercial Insurance Brokers, UK. The other is Accounts Executive, New Business Executives, Commercial Insurance Brokers, UK. And those two run at the same time. So I've got a constant inflow of new connections with candidates and new connections with prospects. But they're all run by that simple search, because I've got job title, industry, location. So I just run with LinkedIn filters. I don't need to be clever. I don't need to be sophisticated. I don't even need to use Apollo.io or any of the equivalents. I can just use LinkedIn. Secret, I'm not even paying for LinkedIn. I'm just using the free account. I'm still generating enough results to keep me as busy as I want to be. So when I run that search, I'll get X hundred or X thousand results. You copy and paste the URL that search generates. I drop it into Dripify, which then goes off and sources those leads. That's simple. Then you need to build a campaign. Now, building the campaigns within Dripify, I'll probably do a new video within the Academy, because it's becoming such a fundamental part of what I'm doing now, but I've not really touched on it yet in the Academy. So I'm going to correct that in the next couple of weeks. Excuse me. Oh, I didn't have a shave this morning. It backfired on me. So I build the campaign, and it's simply send a connection request. Now, because I'm building email lists and I do email marketing, I then have the next stage is capture the email. When they can send a connection request, no message, because the message actually lowers my connection rate, lowers my response rate. Send a connection request with no message. When they connect, grab the email address and send them a thanks for connecting email. Or send them a thanks for connecting LinkedIn DM. Now, you'll be horrified by this, but I promise you it works. I mentioned earlier that I've got two different LinkedIn profiles. The LinkedIn profile for the Academy, when you connect, there's then a 2-hour gap, and I send a message that says, hey, thanks for connecting. As a thank you, why don't you download a free copy of my cold calling script for recruiters? Here, click this link. They then go, I get their email address and their name again, and they've signed up, and now you're in my ecosystem. Some of you will have joined the Academy that way. Within my recruitment business, with the Candidates, I am not doing any kind of lead magnet or freebie. What I do, and bearing in mind that my candidates are in professional services industry, I send them a simple note and it says, hey, thanks for connecting, really appreciate it. And then I send them a GIF, and it's a GIF of a little kitten laying its back going, hello, hello. Oh, Stephen, I couldn't do that. That's horribly unprofessional. It works. And I normally get 5 or 6 messages a day going, oh, that's really funny. I like the cat. A certain number of people, I'm quite sure, go, ooh, that's unprofessional. I couldn't possibly deal with somebody that would do that. Well, that's okay, because I probably wouldn't want to deal with them anyway. The way I think of it is that I am professional, I am knowledgeable, I am an expert in my market. I can also have a sense of humour and like cats at the same time. For my prospects, I've got, depending on which campaign I'm running, I've got 2 different approaches. One is cat GIF. Hello. Yes, I send a cat GIF to the chief exec of really quite large financial organisations, and they love it. The other alternative is I've got a PDF which is a salary survey. So if you're the chief executive of XYZ commercial insurance brokers, you've got the option of downloading a salary survey as a PDF. It's a very simple document. It's only 4 pages. You give me your email address, you give me your name, I send you the PDF. That's it. That's about as sophisticated as I will ever get with my particular niche. Just don't need to do any more. So it's a simple thanks for connecting. I never sell on the first message. It's horrible when people do that. You must have had that. Thanks for connecting. This is what I do. Do you want to buy some? No, go away. So your thanks for connecting message is just that. Then personally, I leave a 2-week gap. I've tried less, I've tried more. 2 weeks is about optimal. When I leave it too long, they can't remember connecting. If I do it too fast, it's cheesy and salesy. Bear in mind, I am cheesy and salesy already. I don't need to make it worse. So I send a message that simply says, hey, I've got an idea I'd love to get your opinion on. When would be a good time to chat over the next 10 days or so? Some people come back straight away and go, hey, how about this? What about then? And that's great. They go straight into my Calendly link. Some people come back and go, oh, what's the idea then? And for them, I have a pre-prepared cut and paste reply to that simple standard question. It's cut and paste, and I haven't automated that because the wording of the question changes a little bit, and I want to respond to the question they asked in a human, personal way instead of just bot responses. I could automate that. I've not found a way of doing it that is quite as effective as the human being, and besides which, it takes me no time at all. If they don't respond to the first message, after another 2 weeks, they get a second message that says, hey, I'm a headhunter, I'm a recruiter, I'm an executive search consultant. This is what I do for whom. I'd love to have a conversation with you. When's a good time to speak over the next 10 days? If that doesn't work, I could carry on. I don't. I just end the sequence there because I've never found that constantly hammering on a closed door will make it open in an effective way. So that's my very simple Dripify campaign. It's not complicated. It's amazingly simple. Once I got my head around Dripify, I can now compose a new campaign. I did one this afternoon for the Academy. I can now compose a whole new campaign in about 10 minutes flat. And it works like a charm. It's just different, getting different results, trying different things, because I'm always trying to optimize. So that's the basis of it. Very simple. It's just using LinkedIn DMs, I've got an idea I thought I'd love to get your opinion on. Is the one that's most effective and brings me the majority of my candidates. Not the majority of my prospects, but it brings me the majority of my candidates. Okay. So all of that is automated. Everything from the everything after the LinkedIn search, copy the URL in, the rest of it runs automatically. I'm sending out, depending on the account, the level of account you've got with Dripify, I'm sending out, I believe, 75 new connection requests a day, 7 days a week. When it gets to 75, it stops until the 75 refreshes at midnight, then it carries on. So I'm doing about 75 connection requests a week. I'll give you the results in a second. For those people who reply, I've mentioned this already, cut and paste response thanking them and inviting them to a pre-qualification conversation. I would send a calendar link that goes straight into their diary and mine. Now, something important. Oh, Stephen, I don't want to just talk to anybody because they might not be the right people. Think about it for a second. This is why the niche is so important. Because I'm only working on LinkedIn for account executive, commercial insurance broker, mainland UK, literally anybody that has that job title and is in that industry and in that geography, anybody that hits that niche is going to be relevant for a 5-minute conversation. For a 5-minute pre-qualification conversation where I qualify them in or out. They're either qualified or they're not qualified yet. Okay? Literally anybody that picks up a conversation with me is a potential candidate. Maybe they're too specialized, maybe they're too small, maybe they're not quite right, or maybe they're in a piece of geography that I know I can never make a placement in because I specified mainland UK. LinkedIn won't let me specify mainland UK. I will get candidates in Northern Ireland and I can almost never place them because the university is too small in that area. Apologies to those of you in Northern Ireland. It's really simple. So I can have a 5-minute conversation with anybody. If somebody comes through my prospect campaign, I know they're an MD or a chief executive of a broker in the UK. I'll very happily have a 5-minute conversation with anybody that's got that job title in that industry, in that location. I don't care who they are. They're qualified to have a conversation with me for 5 minutes. Okay. Next step, pre-qualify, which I've started to mention. But in order to do it efficiently, I've got to be crystal clear what a candidate looks like, what a really good candidate looks like. Then if they're a qualified candidate, I'll lengthen the conversation. I used to do it as a separate call, but now I've found that it's easier just to keep them on the call longer. Because if I'm interested in them, it's quite easy for them to be interested in the opportunity. So I build a profile. If they're a disqualified candidate, I'll very gently place them back in the pond for later. If I'm dealing with a prospect, I'll either take a high quality job order off them there and then. Not very often. That's not the most effective way of doing it for me. Might be for you, it isn't for me. Or I'll agree exactly what kind of candidates they want to see, how I'll communicate those candidates to them, and what the expectations are. That they should know that I'm not going to give them 6 candidates next week. I should know that it might take them 48 hours to respond because they're traveling the country or whatever it might be. So all of that, again, is built around proper preparation. I have to know in advance exactly what a highly desirable candidate looks like. Because if I don't know what they look like, how the hell do I recognize them? Simple as. Okay. And this next slide, apart from doing some cut and pasting, this doesn't automate yet because it's the human side. I have to build the profile manually. I have to e-shot it. Now, the e-shotting is slightly automated because I've pre-prepared my prospect lists, and I've got the e-shotting software available. It's all straightforward. Copy, paste, play. Simple as that. But I have to do all that manually because each prospect list is going to be slightly different. Now, here's where there's a dichotomy. I was talking with somebody who's a member of the academy and also a personal coaching client. I personally follow up on every e-shot by phone. I pick up the phone, I call people, I want to know if that candidate isn't right. Let's build a job order so that I can find the right person for you in the near future. What my client does, they basically have such a strong through flow of high quality candidates because of their version of the machine that if somebody doesn't respond to this candidate, that's fine, because next week they'll have 2 more for them. And somebody's going to float the boat because they have such a tight definition of highly desirable candidate that they know with absolute certainty that if Dick, Jane, or Spot doesn't float this particular person's boat, the next set of Dick, Jane, and Spot that comes down the pipe is going to. Now, I'm not at that point. Most people aren't. It's taken him about 18 months to get to that point. But however you're doing it, you put the candidate out and then you generate the responses. You handle the responses, you schedule a conversation, the meeting, the interview, whatever terminology you want to use. You then got to brief the candidate, brief the client, debrief the candidate, debrief the client, rinse and repeat on 5 and 6 until you come to negotiating the offer, inoculate against the counter offer. If you've got a good candidate, they're going to be counter offered. So we need to make sure that we've dealt with it. Confirm the start, confirm the invoice, party, and bang on to the next one with a huge dose of dopamine and adrenaline because we've just made a placement. That is the ideal time to get banging on for the next one, which is back to the mindset piece that I did 2 weeks ago. And that fundamentally is how the machine works. Now, if you think about it, what does that actually mean? Well, I'm completely on autopilot. I don't do anything on LinkedIn apart from the search. The rest of it is automated. It's bringing me between 160 and 200 new connections a week. From that 160 to 200 new connections, I'm generating between 9 and 12 conversations a week so that I can pre-qualify the candidates in or out. Of that 9 to 12, I get 2 to 4 candidates that I want to work with in any given week. It's a decent ratio because I know that the job title, industry, geography is going to be right. From the 2 to 4 candidates a week who get e-shotted and followed up, I'll bring in about 3 to 5 interview requests a week. And I'll also get about, it averages 3 high quality job orders each week. Now, most of those come in from following up on the e-shots. Some of them come in simply from the LinkedIn connection because my profile is so precise that people go, oh, okay, that might be interesting. Let's have a conversation. From all of that, I get about 2 placements a month. Okay? So to set this entire machine up, to design it, to analyze the niche, to pre-write the emails, to find the GIFs and all of that stuff took me 6-7 hours over a couple of weeks. These days, I'm a lot faster because I've done all the legwork and it's literally just copy, paste, slide, copy, paste, slide, copy, paste, slide. That's a new campaign. Off we go. I spend about 30 to 45 minutes every week. In my case, I literally go in at 5 o'clock every night, look at my messages and go, oh, okay, yeah, cut and paste, tailor it, cut and paste, tailor it, cut and paste, tailor it, bosh, off we go. And that's about it. So the only stuff that I'm actually doing is the human interaction stuff. I'm pre-qualifying candidates. I'm generating job orders. I'm briefing. I'm debriefing. I'm negotiating offers. All the stuff about sourcing candidates, all the stuff about building connections with prospects, all of that is out of my hands. All of that is automated and refined, and it just happens while I sleep. In this case, literally. I used to spend about 3 hours a day doing all the stuff that is now machine automated. Now that's 3 hours a day that I can either spend doing different things, or I can do the same things much more precisely, much more thoroughly, and I'd not rushed for time with my prequels or my prospect conversations, because all the stuff, all the high volume stuff is taken care of. So that is the idea and the structure of the machine. It's all in a lot more detail in the individual pieces are within the straight line recruitment modules and straight line recruitment lessons. I've not gone into that much detail on Dripify. I will correct that over the next couple of weeks. I'll have to record the videos for it. It's not the most exciting, unless you're a total nerd like I am. It's not the most exciting activity. It's thinking things through. It's taking care of the details. It's planning. It's all about the nuts and bolts. But the results, oh my God, the results. If you think about it, I've basically got Dripify at $79 doing a researcher or a resourcer job for me. I would have a resourcer finding all these candidates, getting them warmed up, setting up pre-qualification calls. The only difference being maybe I'd have a resourcer actually doing the pre-qual and just passing me the qualified candidates. Maybe. But I've fundamentally got an automated system that's taken me a few hours to build, doing a resources job for me for $79 a month. I'll take it. Thank you very much indeed. And that's it. Once you've watched this, or those of you that are on the call now, I am absolutely certain that you will have mechanics questions. You're going to have the how do I's. How do I build these sort of, how do I build the content? How do I build the actual messaging? So what I would say is, let's get into as much specifics as you want. As a member of the Academy, you can hit me up about literally anything. If you want, I'll write the flipping connection message for you. I'll find you a GIF. I'll give you 64 ideas for a lead magnet that you can use. I'm entirely at your disposal. That business that I've just described, if you ever looked up on my LinkedIn channel, my YouTube channel, I'm making 2 placements a month, an average fee of $15,000 per placement, and I'm doing that on about 12 hours a week, which is not bad for a part-time job. I'll be honest, it's not bad. It just about keeps the cats in cat food. It really is as simple as that once you've thought through the mechanics. So work with me. Let's build through on the mechanics. I'll talk to you about software. I'll talk to you about the content of your messaging. I'll talk to you about where to find the best GIFs. I'll show you how to build a lead magnet. I'll show you how to build an emailing list. Any of it and all of it, I'm completely at your disposal. Over to you guys. Those of you who are on the call, feel free to ask me anything about anything, this related or not. And for those of you who are watching on replay, download the slide deck, study it, then let's have some conversations. Okay, I'm going to shut up because I've overrun quite badly, but I think it might have been worth it for people. So I'm going to throw it open to an Ask Me Anything session.